The night was silent, except for the faint rustle of leaves outside the library's ancient windows. Dr. Jonathan Reed, a 42-year-old historian with sharp eyes and a furrowed brow, sat hunched over a desk illuminated by a lone lamp. His breath misted in the cold air, and the weight of centuries pressed on his shoulders. He whispered, "The Voynich Manuscript. Why does it refuse to speak?" His voice trembled with both frustration and awe. The pages before him were covered in strange symbols and drawings of plants that never existed, a puzzle that had mocked scholars for centuries. The ink seemed alive, its shapes twisting in his mind, taunting him. His hand hovered over the fragile parchment, hesitant, as though touching it might awaken something hidden. He remembered his mentor's warning, some truths are better left unread, yet his obsession drowned out caution. Shadows crept across the walls as the lamp flickered, and the room felt charged with invisible energy. For Reed, this manuscript was no relic. It was a doorway, and once opened, it would not be closed. The morning after, sunlight pierced through the curtains of Reed's small study. The manuscript lay open, mocking him with silence. His eyes were bloodshot, his mind still echoing with last night's visions. He whispered, "I saw them move. Or did I?" He rubbed his temples, but the headache only deepened. A knock came at the door. It was Professor Evelyn Hart, a 38-year-old linguist with kind yet cautious eyes. She studied him for a moment and sighed. "Jonathan, you look haunted." Reed forced a smile, though it faltered quickly. "This book won't let me rest," he muttered. Evelyn's tone was firm. "You need distance, or it will consume you." But Reed only tightened his grip on the manuscript. His obsession had already taken root. Reed paced the room, voice shaking. "It feels alive, Evelyn. I swear I saw the ink shift." Evelyn folded her arms, refusing to indulge his mania. "Jonathan, obsession clouds reason." He stopped, meeting her eyes. "But what if reason is the veil?" She sighed, pushing her glasses up her nose. "Or what if madness is?" Their words hung heavy. Outside, the world moved on, but inside the study, the air was tense. Evelyn softened. "I don't want to watch you burn yourself alive chasing ghosts." Reed looked away, jaw clenched. "Better to burn in truth than rot in ignorance," he whispered. Evelyn's heart ached. She had seen him like this before, and it never ended well. The manuscript's drawings of impossible plants caught Evelyn's eye. She leaned closer. "These symbols, they mimic old herbal codes, but none align with real language." Reed's voice was quick, eager. "Exactly. It hides something deeper." Evelyn traced a figure, her brow furrowed. "Or perhaps it hides nothing at all." Reed snapped. "You don't see it because you don't feel it." His intensity startled her. For a moment, silence reigned, only the ticking clock breaking it. Evelyn straightened, her tone sharp. "Jonathan, your faith blinds you." He lowered his gaze, whispering, "Or guides me." The gulf between obsession and reason widened with every breath. Night fell once more. Reed refused to rest, eyes fixed on the manuscript, pupils wide with exhaustion. Evelyn returned with tea, setting it down gently. "Jonathan, you'll break yourself." He didn't look up, muttering, "It whispers, Evelyn. I can almost hear it." Her hand hovered above his shoulder, but dropped away, unsure. She whispered, "You're chasing shadows." Reed slammed his palm onto the table. "No, they're chasing me." His voice cracked, half desperation, half triumph. The manuscript glowed faintly in the lamplight, as if mocking her doubt. Evelyn's expression darkened. She feared the man before her was no longer the friend she once knew, but something transformed by the book's curse. The manuscript refused to yield its secrets, and Reed grew restless. He sat in the dim study, flipping through pages filled with strange patterns, while Evelyn stood nearby, arms crossed. She said, "Jonathan, obsession has already swallowed your nights." Reed's reply was harsh. "And what if I am close? What if the answer lies just beyond this page?" His eyes burned with determination, his voice echoing through the room. Evelyn's tone softened. I fear you've begun to hear voices that aren't there. Reed slammed the book shut, dust rising. Better to hear whispers of truth than lie deaf to its call, he muttered. The tension between them grew heavier, the manuscript at its core like a forbidden flame no one could extinguish. The following day, Evelyn reluctantly followed Reed to the university archives. Dust coated the air, and the silence felt oppressive. Reed whispered, "Somewhere here lies the key." Evelyn adjusted her glasses, her tone sharp. Or another dead end. They searched through forgotten manuscripts, Reed's hands trembling as he touched each binding. He muttered, "Every scrap of knowledge is a step closer." Evelyn sighed, shaking her head, yet her eyes betrayed curiosity. She said softly, "If this destroys you, Jonathan, it will not be the manuscript's fault, but your own." Reed ignored her words, his gaze fixed on a locked cabinet at the far end of the hall, as though it beckoned him closer. They found a cabinet sealed with a rusted lock. Reed's voice cracked with excitement. "This is it, Evelyn." She frowned, cautious. "You think every locked door hides answers?" He retrieved a small tool from his coat pocket, his hands shaking as he forced it open. The door creaked, revealing bundles of forgotten notes. His eyes widened, hunger flashing in them. Evelyn muttered, "You look like a man chasing fireflies in the dark." Reed ignored her, pulling the papers close. "No, Evelyn. These are lanterns, lighting the path." His obsession deepened, and she wondered if she should walk away before the darkness swallowed them both. That evening, Reed laid the discovered notes across his desk. Strange diagrams mirrored those in the Voynich Manuscript, sending chills down his spine. "It connects," he whispered. Evelyn, standing nearby, narrowed her eyes. "Or it imitates. Do you not see the difference?" He brushed her words aside, his finger tracing each symbol with reverence. "These are fragments of the same truth," he insisted. Evelyn's voice trembled. "Jonathan, this is consuming you." He looked up, his face pale, and said, "Perhaps it must consume me, for truth demands sacrifice." Evelyn turned away, her chest heavy, knowing she was losing him to shadows she could not fight. Later that night, Evelyn found Reed staring blankly at the manuscript, his lips moving silently. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Jonathan, you're slipping away." His eyes darted to hers, wild. "No, I'm slipping closer." "The symbols breathe, Evelyn." She recoiled at his words, fear growing in her heart. He pressed the pages as though they might open a hidden door. "The manuscript is alive," he whispered, trembling. Evelyn whispered back, "Then it will devour you." Silence pressed between them, heavy and suffocating. The room grew colder, and Reed's obsession no longer seemed like a choice. It had become his master. The university corridors were quiet that night, but Reed's steps echoed as if the halls themselves listened. Evelyn followed, her voice low. "Jonathan, this is madness." He carried the manuscript under his arm like a relic. "No, Evelyn," he said with conviction. "Madness is ignoring the truth." They approached the lecture hall, where a single figure waited in the shadows. Dean Marcus Hale, a 55-year-old man with silver hair and a calm smile, stepped into the lamplight. "You've gone too far, Dr. Reed," he said smoothly. Reed narrowed his eyes, clutching the book tighter. Evelyn glanced between them, unease gnawing at her. The keeper of secrets had revealed himself. Hale's voice carried authority. "This manuscript holds dangers beyond your grasp. No, don't trust." Reed snapped, "Or truths you fear revealed." Evelyn shifted uneasily, watching the tension rise. Hale's tone was smooth, almost rehearsed. "Some doors once opened, unleash storms." Reed's hand clenched around the book. "And storms cleanse false empires," he retorted. Hale's eyes narrowed, his calm cracking. Evelyn whispered, "Jonathan, please." But Reed's focus was locked on Hale. The encounter felt less like debate and more like war, fought with words sharp as blades. For Reed, this was not just about knowledge. It was about defiance against forces that thrived in shadows. The discussion shifted into veiled threats. Hale leaned closer, voice low. There are those who will silence you if you continue. Reed met his stare, defiant. Then let them try. Evelyn's breath caught as she whispered, Jonathan, don't invite ruin. But Hale smiled faintly. Ignorance keeps peace, Dr. Reed. Knowledge breeds war. Reed's reply was harsh. Peace built on silence is nothing but prison walls. The words hung heavy, echoing through the empty hall. Hale stepped back, his gaze cold. So be it, he muttered. In that moment, Evelyn realized they had crossed a line that could never be undone. Later that night, Evelyn confronted Reed in his study. He warned you, she said, voice heavy with fear. Reed snapped. Warnings are weapons of the weak. He spread out the notes he had stolen from the archives, diagrams mirroring the Voynich's secrets. Evelyn shook her head. Jonathan, Hale isn't wrong to fear this. Reed glared at her. And you? Do you fear truth too? His voice cracked with obsession. She whispered, I fear losing you. For a brief moment, Reed's face softened, but the fire in his eyes quickly returned. Then stand with me, he said, though his tone carried more command than plea. The storm outside rattled the windows, as Reed pored over his findings. Evelyn sat silently in the corner, torn between loyalty and fear. Suddenly, a knock echoed at the door. Reed froze, eyes darting. Evelyn whispered, it could be him. Reed tightened his grip on the manuscript. Then, let him come. The knock came again, louder this time. Evelyn's heart pounded, her breath shallow. Reed moved toward the door, each step deliberate. As he reached for the handle, shadows shifted under the crack of light. The Keeper of Secrets had not finished his warning, and the night was far from over. The storm outside had passed, but Reed's study was filled with new tension. Evelyn sat near the fire, her eyes heavy with doubt, while Reed scanned fresh notes spread across the desk. Suddenly the door creaked open, and Daniel Cross entered, a 40-year-old archivist with calm eyes and disarming charm. He smiled warmly. I heard you've made progress. Reed straightened, suspicious yet desperate. Evelyn asked sharply, Why are you here at this hour? Daniel chuckled softly. Curiosity, and perhaps to help. His words were smooth, convincing, but his gaze lingered on the manuscript too long. Reed's unease deepened, but exhaustion dulled his caution. The deceiver had stepped into their circle, cloaked as a friend. Daniel leaned closer, his voice low and persuasive. I've studied forgotten codes, Jonathan. Let me help unlock this puzzle. Reed's eyes widened with fragile hope. Evelyn interjected firmly. And why should we trust you? Daniel offered a sly grin. Because I want truth as much as you. Reed hesitated, torn between suspicion and the allure of an ally. Evelyn whispered, Jonathan, something is wrong. But Reed brushed her warning aside. If he can help, we cannot turn him away. Daniel's expression softened as if gaining ground, yet in his eyes there was calculation. The manuscript's danger grew not just from its secrets but from those it lured closer. That night, Daniel spread new notes across the table, pointing out symbols with practiced ease. Reed's voice carried wonder. You've seen these before? Daniel nodded, his tone calm. Fragments in forgotten texts. Together they make sense. Evelyn watched carefully, her suspicion deepening. She whispered, You move too easily through this. Why? Daniel's smile did not falter. Because I've been preparing. Reed leaned closer, his excitement growing. Finally, someone who understands. Evelyn's heart sank as she realized Daniel was drawing Jonathan deeper into shadows. The danger was not only Hale's threats but the traitor smiling across the desk. Later, Evelyn confronted Daniel alone in the corridor. Her tone was sharp. You're hiding something. Daniel's smile turned cold. We all hide something, Professor. His eyes gleamed, dangerous. The truth Jonathan seeks isn't meant for him. Evelyn stepped back, her heart racing. Then why feed his obsession? Daniel leaned close, his whisper venomous. Because obsession blinds and blinded men are easy to guide. Evelyn realized with dread that his goal was not to help but to control. The manuscript was bait, and Jonathan was caught. Daniel's footsteps echoed as he walked away, leaving her shaken but resolute. Back in the study, Reed stared at the manuscript as Daniel's words echoed in his mind. Evelyn entered, her voice trembling. "Jonathan, he's dangerous." Reed shook his head stubbornly. "No, Evelyn, he has insight no one else has." She gripped his arm, desperate. "You can't see the trap." Reed pulled away, his eyes burning. "This book chose me. I'll follow its path, no matter the cost." Evelyn's heart broke as she saw the man she cared for slip further into Daniel's grasp. Shadows danced across the room, and the fire crackled like a warning neither of them heeded. The night air was heavy as Reed and Evelyn followed Daniel through narrow stone corridors beneath the university. Their footsteps echoed like whispers of the past. Reed's voice shook with awe. "This is older than the library itself." Daniel smirked. "Secrets demand hidden places." Evelyn's unease deepened with every step. She whispered, "Jonathan, this feels wrong." But Reed pressed forward, the manuscript clutched like a holy relic. The walls bore carvings of strange symbols, eerily familiar. Reed touched them, whispering, "It's the same language." Evelyn's stomach tightened. The deeper they went, the clearer it became. They were stepping into the heart of a tragedy long buried. They entered a chamber filled with crumbling manuscripts and shattered artifacts. Reed's eyes widened, trembling with excitement. "This is proof." Daniel's voice was calm, calculated. "Evidence of those who sought before you, and failed." Evelyn's hands shook as she picked up a broken mask, whispering, "So much loss." Reed turned to her, his voice fierce. "Loss paves the road to discovery." Daniel watched silently, his expression unreadable. The chamber smelled of dust and decay, a tomb of forgotten lives. Evelyn whispered, "Jonathan, do you not see? This is not a treasure. It's a grave." But he ignored her warning, drawn deeper into shadows. Reed discovered a mural on the far wall, faded yet haunting. It showed figures bowing before a glowing book. His breath caught. "It's the manuscript." Evelyn stepped closer, shaking her head. "Or a warning." Daniel's voice was smooth. "Knowledge has always demanded devotion." Reed traced the symbols with trembling fingers, whispering, "They revered it." Evelyn's tone cracked with urgency. "Jonathan, they feared it." The mural's cracked stone seemed alive, shifting in the torchlight. Reed's obsession burned brighter, blind to Evelyn's fear. Daniel remained silent, his eyes sharp, as though the tragedy painted on the wall was unfolding once again before them. Evelyn's voice echoed, breaking the silence. "Jonathan, please, don't become what they did." Reed turned sharply, anger in his eyes. "They were seekers, Evelyn. Like me." She stepped closer, whispering, "No, Jonathan. They were victims." His grip tightened on the manuscript until his knuckles whitened. "Victims of ignorance," he spat. Daniel finally spoke, his tone soft but sharp, "and perhaps of truth too great to bear." Evelyn looked between them, realizing Reed stood at a crossroads. She whispered, "Jonathan, truth without peace is just another curse." His jaw clenched, but the fire in his eyes betrayed his choice. Suddenly, they discovered a skeleton slumped against the wall, a decayed notebook still clutched in its hand. Evelyn gasped, covering her mouth. "Jonathan, this is what obsession leaves behind." Reed bent, prying the notebook loose. His voice cracked. "Another seeker." The fragile pages crumbled under his touch, revealing sketches eerily similar to his own notes. Evelyn whispered, tears forming, "This is tragedy, not triumph." Daniel's eyes gleamed, his smile thin. "And yet, you both stand where he fell." Reed's shoulders trembled, torn between horror and awe. In that moment, Evelyn knew the manuscript was not just leading them to truth but to ruin. The chamber trembled as thunder cracked above ground. Reed stood before the mural, manuscript in hand, trembling with exhaustion yet burning with defiance. Evelyn pleaded, "Jonathan, stop before you break yourself." He spun toward her, eyes bloodshot, shouting, "I cannot stop. Every page is a step closer." Daniel smirked, his voice low and dangerous. "You're close, Jonathan, but only because I guided you here." Reed's jaw clenched as betrayal struck him. Evelyn gasped. So it was never help, only control. Daniel's grin faded into sharp coldness. Control is survival, truth unrestrained destroys. Reed's fists shook, anger and disbelief rising, yet beneath it was the bitter knowledge that he had trusted a deceiver. Reed's voice cracked, "You lied to me." Daniel replied smoothly, "I gave you purpose." Evelyn stepped between them, her voice fierce. "Jonathan, he's twisting you." Daniel's calm broke, venom seeping into his tone. "You think you can resist what this book demands?" He stepped closer, eyes glinting. Reed's hands trembled as the weight of betrayal sank in. "You made me your pawn," he whispered. Daniel's reply was sharp. "And you were willing." Evelyn's heart pounded, her voice rising. "Jonathan, you can still choose." The air grew heavier, as though the chamber itself waited for Reed's decision, loyalty to truth or surrender to deceit. Daniel lashed out, his words cutting like blades. "You think you own the truth? The manuscript owns you." Reed's eyes burned with defiance, though his body trembled. Evelyn's voice wavered but held steady. "Jonathan, listen to me, not him." Daniel sneered, stepping closer. "She doesn't understand. She never will." Reed's voice cracked with fury. "No, Daniel, it's you who doesn't understand. This is not yours to control." Evelyn gripped Reed's arm, desperate. "Fight him, Jonathan, or you'll lose yourself." For a heartbeat, silence filled the chamber, only the sound of dripping water echoing. Then Reed roared, "I will not be your puppet." Daniel's composure broke. He lunged toward the manuscript, snarling, "If you won't give it, I'll take it." Reed stumbled back, his grip iron tight. Evelyn cried out, "Jonathan, let it go before it kills you." But Reed's reply was a desperate growl. "It's mine." Daniel's hand grasped Reed's coat, their struggle violent, the manuscript nearly tearing between them. Evelyn reached for Reed, tears in her eyes. "Please, Jonathan, don't let him drag you into ruin." Dust rained from the ceiling as the chamber shook under their clash. Reed's rage fueled him, yet his face showed the torment of betrayal and obsession colliding. With a violent shove, Reed forced Daniel back against the wall. Breathing heavily, Reed hissed, "This book will not serve you." Daniel's voice was ragged, filled with hatred. "Then it will destroy you." Evelyn rushed forward, grasping Reed's hand, whispering desperately, "Jonathan, end this before it ends you." His chest heaved, his eyes caught between fury and exhaustion. The manuscript glowed faintly, as though feeding on their conflict. Reed looked down at Evelyn, pain in his expression. "If truth costs everything, will you still stand with me?" Evelyn's answer was quiet but resolute. "Yes, but only if it doesn't take you from me." The tremors faded as dawn bled through the cracks, turning the chamber's dust to gold. Reed steadied his breath, the manuscript pressed to his chest like a beating heart. Evelyn whispered, "We still have a choice." He answered, "Not if the truth dies here." Footsteps descended the stairs with measured calm. Hale emerged from shadow, raincoat gleaming with cave mist and pride. He said, "Return it, Jonathan, and no one needs to vanish." Reed's jaw tightened as anger met fear. Daniel stood aside, eyes restless, hungry for victory. Evelyn stepped forward, voice firm. "Dean, the dead already paid the price." Hale's smile cooled. "Then, let them remain honored and silent." Reed lifted the book and murmured, "Silence is their prison, and I hold the key." The chamber seemed to lean closer, listening for the verdict of the living. Evelyn opened the dead seeker's notebook and aligned its faded sketches with the Voynich folios. she said. Look, overlapping grids, like a map of grief. Reed traced the lattice, eyes clearing. An acrostic of illustrations, not words. Daniel scoffed. Poetry won't unlock power. Hale murmured, power lies in omission. Evelyn rotated a page until plant stems formed letters. She said, names, Jonathan, not formulas. Reed whispered. They encoded witnesses under flowers. The murals bowed figures made sense at last. Not cultists, but memorial keepers. Hale stepped closer, voice soft as a blade. Names are dangerous when remembered. Reed replied, names are human when spoken. The chamber's echo returned those names like a slow tide. Reed breathed the name the code revealed, and the chamber seemed to warm. He said, Beatrice of Moravia, the lost midwife. Evelyn's eyes shone with sudden sorrow. She recorded mothers who died uncounted. Daniel muttered, legends to chain the weak. Hale's voice hardened. Records like these ignite revolts. Reed turned the pages, each flower a testimony, each bath scene a ledger of survival. He said, the manuscript is a cemetery written in vines. Evelyn added, and a guide for the living who refuse erasure. Daniel stepped back, calculation breaking into fear. Hale saw his bulwark crumbling and hissed, history requires pruning. Reed held the book higher. Not pruning. Illumination. The dead felt near enough to touch. Hale struck without warning, lunging for the manuscript with a veteran's speed. He said, if it burns, its ghosts sleep. Reed staggered, clutching the spine as pages fluttered like trapped birds. Daniel froze, torn between alliance and self-preservation. Evelyn moved first, shoving Hale off balance with a fierce cry. She said, you will not bury them again. The torch tipped, flame licking at a loose page. Reed exhaled a broken prayer and smothered it with his coat. Hale snarled, you endanger the living for the dead. Reed answered, we serve the living by naming the dead. Daniel reached, then lowered his hand, seeing which future would hold him. The chamber thundered with falling grit, but the book survived. They emerged at sunrise, breath frosting in the new cold. The campus lawns glittered with dew like a field of tiny mirrors. Reed said, we publish the names and the cipher key. Evelyn nodded, weary yet steady. And the method, so no keeper can lock it again. Hale stood on the steps, defeated but unbowed. He said, you will unleash grief you cannot control. Reed replied, grief belongs to those who carry it, not to you. Daniel looked away, stripped of charm, and whispered, I wanted to be the one who mattered. Evelyn answered softly, then, matter by helping repair what you harmed. Reed touched the book's scarred cover and bowed his head. The dead felt seen, and the living felt warned.